Sup YouTube, it's TCG here and welcome back to our TCG video on my channel. Today we're doing a tier list prediction for the World Championships over in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's going to be the 5th invitation that actually got to the World Championship, so I will be there. And I'm currently doing a lot of testing for this upcoming format. The upcoming format will be with the inclusion of Shrouded Fable, a new mini set coming out on the 2nd of August. So we definitely need to be taking a look at which new archetypes will be established with that and which archetypes are actually going to get an update. But before we do that, be sure to, of course, hit the hell out of the like button. It helps out in ridiculous ways. And also subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're gonna get daily Pokemon TCG videos over here that are focused on the competitive play. And we just recently passed 65,000 subscribers, so I want to thank every single person out there that are watching the daily content. It actually means the world to me, and you guys are total legends, so thanks for being part of our community. Before we dive into this tier list, I want to give a huge disclaimer here. This is my personal opinion. I have tested a little bit of the decks, but not all of them, of course, and there's definitely, we are treated here in this format because there's a ton of archetypes actually viable for the World Championship. So we're in a luxury position in that sense, is that if you have some sort of favorite archetype, there's definitely a chance that it's going to be viable, which is kind of crazy to think about. And also, this is just my opinion. If your opinion is different, let me know in the comment section below why a specific deck should be higher or lower upon the tier list. And also, if I forgot a deck by any chance, let me know which kind of rogue deck that you will also be putting on the tier list, so I can actually make sure I give a shout out to that. Let me know in the comments below, and let's just have a little bit discussions here left and right. And also want to thank my sponsors for making the daily content possible. DragonShield.com for your sleeves, binders, and deck boxes. Use the coupon ZAPDOS5 to get 5% off your order. There's YourPlaymat.com to create your own unique custom playmat. Super nice to be, of course, having that at the World Championships, for example. There's PotownStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs. You can have Twilight Masquerade codes and, of course, promo codes. If you're still missing a couple of these promo codes, you can head over to Potown Store and then implement them onto TCG Live to stack up onto your account. There's cardmarket.com as well for European players, where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. I personally use it every single day to get rid of cards that I don't need, to buy cards that I actually want. So use that as well. You can use the referral name ZapDosTCG to help support the channel. With that being said, let's just dive into this tier list, and at any given point in the video, if you enjoy the content, feel free to leave a like. Only requires 1 tiny second of your time, but does help out the YouTube algorithm. Let's start off with the new archetype on the block, and it's going to be Okidogi EX with Pidgeot EX and maybe some other Darkness type attackers. I'm putting it in tier B, and the reason why I put it in tier B is that this is another basic beat stick deck. We've seen it before with Hisuian Zoroark. We've seen it before with Roaring Moon EX. We've seen it even recently with Raging Bolt Ogerpon. Do we really need another basic deck that hits for a lot of damage? You might think Okidogi has a lot of HP, but it poisons itself and then it puts your HP down to a low amount. Of course, you can one-hit anything in the game, but you do need Janine, the new supporter from the Shrouded Fable set. If you want to have more information on Shrouded Fable, there is a link down below in the description to learn about the entire set and which cards are in Shrouded Fable. Check that video out after this one. With that being said, I'll just put it here in tier B. We have better beat stick decks out there, and in my opinion, Raging Bolt is the better of the bunch. So for me, tier B, that's where I'll be putting the new Okidogi archetype. Then what else is new is we get Dartrix. I'll put it in tier, I don't even know if I want to be putting it in tier B or C, but I'll just give it a chance, give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'll put it in tier B. You might think, oh no, with Dragapult in the format left and right, that's gonna spell out bad news for an archetype like Dartrix, actually like United Wings. United Wings does come packed with different attackers. We have the Lightning Bird, I don't even know what the name is, but you can hit for Lightning weakness, you can hit for Darkness weakness with Murkrow, and now you can finally hit for Grass weakness with the Dartrix. That's why I believe that it is in tier B, because decks like Charizard and Gardevoir are like higher tier decks, and you can hit them for weakness. Archetypes like Lugia are also on the higher end, and you can also hit those for weakness. So if you hit all of these Pokemon for weakness, what's there not to love? Also, with the fact that Kyurem is now introduced, you can actually tack in Kyurem into your deck to help against the Lost Box matchup, which in theory was a very ridiculously bad matchup. Now you just tag that in, and out of the blue, you have a solid archetype. So tier B for me, and I believe that it even has more potential than the Okidogi archetype, but I still have to be proven wrong with these new archetypes. Actually, United Wings is an updated archetype, so I'm putting it in tier B as well. What else is new around the block here? And I'll be putting it here. I'm gonna give Charizard the S treatment with Dusknoir. You might think, is this man losing his mind? Why do you put Charizard back in tier S? Well, it clearly is not performing well over here in the West in the Twilight Masquerade format. The reason for that is that I have to believe Japan with their testing. I haven't tested this deck all too much, but in theory, when you blow up a Dusclops, you can sprinkle around, I think it's 5 damage counters wherever you feel like. You do give up a prize card with that. We don't even care, because if we give up a prize card, our Charizard suddenly is dishing out more damage. You see where we're going with this? You also have full control to blow up your Dusclops, and even Dusknoir, which actually puts 12 or even 13 damage counters on your opponent's side of the field. This can create ridiculous combos where you blow up Dusclops, blow up Dusknoir, you give up 2 prize cards, you take 2 prize cards, and just one-shot the opponent's only active Pokemon with Charizard. But before you do that, you IOTA them to a low hand size. Charizard now has the tools with these powerful Dusknoir kind of effects. We've seen it before in the past with something like Miss Maggie's, blowing yourself up, putting the opponent down to a low hand size because of cards like in the past like Marnie, Reset Stamp. Like now we have Unfair Stamp, we have Iona, so you can make sure that even if you do give up prize cards, you put the opponent down to a low hand size and suddenly they cannot play the game. You can get rid of their draw engine like a B-Barrel and then attack as well, their main attacker. Get rid of their attacker, get rid of their draw engine, and boom, out of nowhere you win game. So I think it's a very strong combo, and I have to believe Japan here, with their current testing, they have already access to these cards, that Dusknoir Dusclops can be a great addition for the Charizard deck. What else is new to the block is actually, it's not new, but it gets a huge buff with Shrouded Fable. The set coming out on the 2nd of August will be legal for the World Championships on the 16th of August, the first day on the Friday over in Honolulu, Hawaii, the tropical paradise, where the meta will finally unfold. This is a tier list prediction video. So don't shoot the messenger. This is just me trying to come up with some sort of a tier list so I can make sure that the people are testing the correct decks for Worlds and not waste their time on the rogue decks that probably will not even do that well. Regidrago, what can we say? I got top 16 at NESC and even a couple more day 2s, which is already great by itself. But now it does gain, not only does it gain Kyurem, which actually is going to be a very huge deal for the deck. Now you can like bench wipe entire stuff if people are not careful and not slapping down Manaphy. You can also use Haxorus if you're up against decks that rely on special energies. With Haxorus, you can just instantly one-shot anything with special energies just by snapping your finger, using the Apex Dragon and copy-pasting the attack of a Haxorus. I know Mist Energy blocks this, but maybe you play some temples in this Regidrago deck as well, and out of nowhere, Regidrago has all the answers. You can Dragapult with the Phantom Dive, you can use the Covered Fly with something like a Noivern to wall off stuff like Ancient Box, Raging Bolt, you name it. There is also the capabilities of using Kyurem for bench wipes, and there is, of course, the Haxorus for special energy one-shot. So what's there not to love? Regidrago now has all the answers at its arsenal to just hopefully convert really well in the World Championships, and converting itself as one of the few VSTAR decks remaining in this format that is doing pretty well. I don't know if there's any other archetypes I need to be taking a look at with the update of Shrouded Fable. I think those are the most impactful ones. There's also the Rogue Kaparaja deck with that 8-spec Stadium card here and there, and yeah, I don't know how to feel about it. It's just way too much work, and Lost Vacuum is in the format. A lot of decks out there are playing that, so I actually didn't include it into the list. If there are other archetypes that I didn't include, let me know. Think like Kingdra EX. I'm also not a fan of it, so didn't include it here, but they are also new archetypes coming from the Shrouded Fable set. If you want them to be included in the list, let me know in the comments where you will be personally placing them, but if I don't mention anything in this video, yeah, it's probably going to be in the don't play this category. Moving on, what we're going to be talking about is, let's just get rid of some decks I personally would not play. The Dipplin Thwackey deck, even though Charizard is expected to do well, now with the help of Dusknoir, they can just bench wipe your weak HP Dipplins while slapping yourself and IOTA-ing you. It's not a great thing for sure. Dipplin, put it all the way in the don't play this category. Another deck I personally would not touch, if I just take a look at it, is Gouging Fire, even though it did well in some Japanese city Champions League, but yeah, there's better stage 2 beat sticks out there. If you want to be playing a stage 2 beat stick, there's even Okidogi if you want to try that out, and even though we have like Roaring Moon and Raging Bolt, I personally wouldn't play that. Another deck I wouldn't play is the Quad Iron Thorns deck. It's just so matchup dependent that you probably will not have a good time. So I'll put this in the don't play this category. Also, Turbo Ogerpon deck with Ogre Mask. As mentioned, you're a stage 2 deck, you're very turbo-like, but you're probably better off just playing Raging Bolt, because not only do you have 240 HP with your basic with the Raging Bolt, you're also gonna have more versatility. You can add in Cornerstone for specific matchups left and right, even though you can do that here as well. You have way too low amount of hit points, and you do need a lot of Ogerpons to just get it going, and some E-switches and all that stuff, and your field is full of two-prize beat sticks, in my opinion. Okay, let's see. There's more decks I could possibly put in the don't play this category, but more on that later. Just focus on some good things here. Let's put Lugia in tier A. It is a good deck. Let's just be honest. It has all the tools it necessarily needs. You can have Supporter activation turn 1 with Carmine. You have Legacy Energy turning your 2 prizers into 1 prizers, or your 1 prizer into 0 prizers. You have the flexibility of adding in a Wellspring Ogerpon into your list for some sniping capabilities. You can take multiple prize cards with an Iron Hands. You can one-shot anything with the Chinchino. We did see that specific players out there have stepped away from Chinchino and added in like 2 Lightning Energy, some Earth Vessels, and the Legacy Energy, so you can amp. That's a strategy indeed. But Lugia is just so versatile. Get the Archeops in the discard pile, use Summoning Star, and just start winning the games in 3 turns. That's pretty much what Lugia does best. And with all the tools in the world, even though you run out of energies at one point, there's the Blood Moon Ursaluna, which also is the hero of the deck. You never run out of attackers because Blood Moon at one point can attack for 0 energies, which is totally crazy. It's also one of the decks that is packed best up against something like control-ish archetypes, because it comes back with Jet Energy. So if you don't want to worry about control or Snorlax stall or any of that, and just want to be playing the game time and time again, doing the same thing over and over again, Lugia is the deck for you. So what else is going to be strong at the World Championships? Let's just face it, Raging Bolt is a strong deck. It is one of those decks that just goes very quickly. It has 240 HP, has the consistency with the help of Squawkabilly, Teal Mask Ogerpon, Raging Bolt, Ogerpon. There's even the Pokestop on top of that, so you draw so many cards on the opening phase that you just say everything in the active can just get a one-shot. Whether you're up against an opposing Raging Bolt, the HP doesn't matter. You have the option to one-shot anything in the game as soon as the first turn going second. With Raging Bolt, you have the power to attacking something like a Sandy Shocks as the 1-prize Pokemon to deal with Mimikyu. If you're having troubles with stuff like a Charizard, you can actually add in the Cornerstone Ogerpon, which can help buy yourself some time, or just even wall off the matchup entirely. So the only problem with that is that sometimes the Charizard players are actually packing the Dragapult, and sometimes they don't, and you don't see that in time, and you have to save your Bulbasaurs or Prime Catcher to do it. But yeah, Ogerpon, this Cornerstone is an option for Raging Bolt, and Raging Bolt has been one of the most popular decks over in the online circuit with a high win percentage, so let's put it here in tier A. Okay, do we have some decks that we could put in tier C? I probably would put Snorlax in tier C. You might think, have you lost your mind? Snorlax can obviously win against a lot of archetypes. And that's where you're wrong. I'm gonna give a good explanation on why I think Snorlax belongs in tier C. It is not the time to be playing Snorlax stall. We get a new card called Patchyrant, which automatically allows you to switch a Darkness Pokemon to the front. Meaning Snorlax block with whatever they want to gust up, it's no longer gonna be impactful. So that's why I think Snorlax block is not good. Also, Lugia is still good and plays Jet Energy, and Snorlax historically has a bad time against Lugia, has a bad time against Snorlax, against a very strong Gardevoir players, which I predict will be there at the World Championships. It's going to be the best of the best. Gardevoir still a very great pick, more on that later, but Snorlax also loses against something like that they know how to play. They have Turo, they can use Collapse Stadium at one point to get rid of their energies on one Guardy. There are all the teleportation rolls on the field. Like, good Gardevoir players know how to play against Snorlax. Then there is, of course, the fact that Raging Bolt can be too fast and donk you, and then we have Regidrago, which probably plays Switch and even Prime Catcher, which it can get back with the Apex Dragon. Actually with the Star Legacy to get 2 cards back from the discard pile, so and technically they have more switch outs, meaning I don't spell good news for Snorlax block. Control is another thing. We're going to talk about control later, but Snorlax block for me, personally, tier C, when I'm taking a look at the tier list. Then I'll be putting let's see here. It's an interesting situation. Let's talk about Gardy, shall we? Gardevoir, definitely a tier A deck. These Gardevoir is one. It actually is the most converted deck over at NAIC. Do I put it in tier S? Probably. I think it just has all the answers. You have so many great things at your arsenal. Fluttermane, broken. Klefki, broken. Mimikyu, broken. Screentail, broken. Monkey Dory situations where you're able to Adrena Brain some damage from yourself onto the opponent's side of the field. In combination with like the Miracle Force of a Gardevoir EX, you can just create so many crazy board states. You have Unfair Stamp or Hyper Aroma if you're on the Hyper Aroma team. Let me know in the comments if you are a Hyper Aroma believer or if you are Unfair Stamp believer for Gardevoir. But whatever you choose, the deck is good. You have way too many options for this deck not to be tier S. You can attack against anything you want. It is a strong deck, and it all comes down to, will people respect Gardevoir enough to attack in their Lost Vacuums, to attack in their Jamming Towers? That is a question that we still don't know. Will, like Raging Bolt can attack in Vacuum. Lugia can attack in Jamming Tower. Regidrago can play also Jamming Tower in my opinion, so you have answers. There's also the capabilities, like the Regidrago could also use Goodra. Sometimes they cannot hit over that threshold and they're gonna have some difficulty. So lots of stuff to think about for sure, but Gardevoir, tier S for sure. It has proven itself at NAIC already. Okay, let's put Chien-Pao. I don't know where to put Chien-Pao. Where was Chien-Pao? I'll put it in the higher end of tier B, I suppose. Chien-Pao, yeah, there's not a lot of things wrong for Chien-Pao. The only thing I'm concerned about here is that Charizard can blow up a Dusknoir and then targets the damage counters onto something like, for example, the Frigibax, and then you can boss up the Baxcalibur, and that indicates that out of nowhere all their energy acceleration is gone. So that's very difficult to deal with indeed, and that's why I put Chien-Pao in tier B, because Regidrago's playing that, of course, the Dragapult EX, which can be a really headache for the Chien-Pao deck, and also Raging Bolt is sometimes too fast, and Lugia can have some prize denial situations going with Legacy Energy. So for me, tier B. And it's yeah, primetime days are a little bit over in my opinion. Okay, moving forward, Zoroark, VSTAR, I wouldn't play that. Put it in the don't play this category. If you want to play a stage 2 beat, actually a basic, yeah, just a 2-price beat stick, just play Raging Bolt. That's way, way better. I'll be putting Control in tier B as well. Control could be tier A in the hands of a correct player. Think about, I would say, Alessandro Cremascoli will probably make it work. He has gonna yeah, identify the meta here left and right. And also I'm gonna give a huge shout out to that Dusclops and Dusknoir. I don't know if something like, for example, the Pidgeot control could also incorporate that, but it's also spelling out bad news. If it's like a lone Mimikyu, like you can blow up a Dusknoir, give the opponent a prize card, and out of nowhere their counter catchers will no longer work and stuff. Like big brain shenanigans could happen and could go wrong for the control deck. But when yeah, you analyze the meta, control, I put it just here, always in tier B. It is always around. Let's see what else. Tier C is going to be Great Tusk Mill. Has a bad Gardevoir matchup, has a bad Lugia matchup. Do I need to say more? Probably not. I'll put it in tier C. That's why, yeah, these like Mill decks and Snorlax Doll, actually Snorlax Doll, probably won't perform all that well at the World Championships. Blissey also putting that in the tier C category, even though you have a great time up against decks, for example, like the Dragapult EX decks. You will have a terrible time against everything that can one-shot. Raging Bolt, one-shots. Regidrago, one-shots. Gardevoir, one-shots. Lugia, one-shot. With the help of Dusknoir, Charizard, also one-shot. So Blissey, very risky pick for sure. Even Chien-Pao, one-shot. So I don't even know what you would be doing with a Blissey deck. Probably not. Could be played in the don't play this category, but there are a couple of Blizzers out there. Dialga, put it in the tier C category. It is, of course, capable of taking 2 turns in a row, but it is on a lower skills, like I would say, power level than the rest of the decks. Maybe Okidogi, this deck could become like the tier C deck, and then we put Dialga a little bit higher. Am I having too much hopium for this deck? Probably. But yeah, let's just put it like here. Dialga, tier C. Arceus, Armarouge, is it finally time to say goodbye to this archetype. You lose to Guardy. You lose to Charizard? Maybe. I don't know. Now with Dusknoir, probably. Put it in the tier C category as well. Like Arceus, Armarouge, right there. Greninja also in the tier C category. Sometimes you see this working out with Frostlass, but as mentioned, people are playing the Turos in the list. Charizard playing Turo, Gardevoir playing Turo. Like the Frostlass strategy to just trap and let everything get knocked out is less useful in my opinion. Lost Box. Instead of tier A, it has dropped down a tier because of the introduction of Kyurem. Kyurem can be tacked into any deck that has troubles with Lost Box. I would say United Wings is one of these prime examples that you say, oh, my Lost Box matchup, what am I gonna do? And out of nowhere, you of course can tack in Kyurem. On the other hand, Lost Box players can tack for the Kyurem to be a counter to the counter, so they can play like a bunch of Palpats in their list, and out of nowhere, when they have enough Colress's plates, just put them back in the deck and suddenly Kyurem does nothing anymore. Definitely something they could tack for. Also, yeah, they probably would just slap down Manaphy. There's also the capabilities of that happening. Okay, moving forward, Arctina, Judge Grabber shenanigans. You just get one-shotted by anything. I probably wouldn't play this. Maybe I'll just put it in tier C, just because it's an Arceus deck and you never know what's gonna happen. Goldango also gonna be throwing that in tier C, but maybe I'm gonna flip them around. I'm gonna be putting Goldango in tier B and Okidogi, I'll put that in tier C, just because I haven't seen the results for it quite yet over in Japan, and in my opinion there are better stage, two prize beatstick decks that have better draw support. So yeah, that's my final decision. Miraidon is technically in a great position in that sense, is that MP very much, you have a great Lugia time. Undoubtedly, Miraidon has the best time up against Lugia. Raging Bolt is hard. Regidrago is hard. Gardevoir could be great if you can get those turn 2 Iron, actually turn 1 going second MP very much. Now with the help of course, that new Stadium card, it actually helps out to put an energy from your hand on top of the deck, so your generators are a little bit more successful. Let's put Miraidon in tier B. It is a deck that is always around. People love playing a deck that just has tandem unit, just can set itself up and do every single game what it wants to do. Deck cards like Iron Bundle could be there. So yeah, put that in tier B for now. Like something like this seems reasonable. Okay, what else? Future Box, actually Future Iron Hands has a bad Charizard matchup. Can of course withstand Gardevoir from time to time, could withstand Lugia, but has problems against Raging Bolt. So, and also loses up against like a Regidrago copy pasting Noivern's attack, so I'll put it in tier C. I think regular Miraidon is better than Future Iron Hands deck. Yeah. Banette. Item locking, is it strong enough? If you item lock a deck, will that be enough? If all of these decks are playing yeah, only candy based, that will be great because you can just make sure that they cannot play candy. Chien-Pao is less prevalent, and Banette's best matchup was Chien-Pao, so I probably would just put it in. We put it in tier C. Is that even great? Should we put one of these decks down to the don't play this category? I'll probably put Blissey in the don't play this category, just because of the fact that Dragapult will not be the most popular deck in the room, and a lot of these decks can one-shot. So this looks a little bit more solid. Probably going to be putting Snorlax block open the higher end. Then this seems great. Maybe Armarouge a little bit further down the line. Dialga over here, and then Great Tusk over here. That seems reasonable to me. Okay, Ancient Box. I'm also going to be putting that in tier C. Because of the fact that there are capabilities where the opponent can just unfair stamp you out of existence. That's pretty much my concern. Like Charizard and Gardevoir are both playing unfair stamp. These Ancient Box will really crumble when you play them at the correct time. On the other hand, yeah, the favorable matchup in the sense that if you start with Fluttermane up against Lost Box, not that relevant anymore because Lost Box will be bullied out a little bit because of the existence of Kyurem. And yeah, Lugia decks do have a lot of hit points, and I think I'll just put it in tier C. You also get outwalled by a Noivern, so that can be kind of silly. Charizard, Pidgeot, I'll also still put that in tier S. I think my list becomes something like this. With the Gardevoir Charizard matchups, they have so much versatility, so much different ways to build them that I'll just put it in tier S. Tier A is reasonable as well. What else? Lost Box Charizard, I'll put that in tier C. That deck always seems to brick for me. Dragapult with Charizard in tier B. That's also a solid archetype, but I think the deck with pure Charizard and the Dusknoir could make it further up in the tournament. Roaring Moon with the Squawkabilly hype also, I'll just put it in tier B because it's a fast deck. You can one-shot, you can be the first person taking a 2-prizer up against like a lone Lugia, a lone Raging Bolt, a lone Regidrago V, so this deck is great, but it does have troubles against Gardevoir and Charizard, so that's the only reason that it keeps itself in the tier B category. Goudra, Lost Box, you can out-attack in Kyurem, by the way, which with 2 Mirage Gaze and an attach of turn can surprisingly come out of nowhere. You are playing Metal Energies, you are playing Water Energy, so that could surprisingly be a thing. I'll put it in the tier C category. Giratina VSTAR, a sleeper pick in my opinion. Not a lot of people are testing out Giratina VSTAR currently, so yeah, it is a sleeper pick. Is a deck that is having access to everything. You have Unfair Stamp, you can still Sable Sprinkle, you can get the Greninja attack off, even though you are a Lost Box deck, so you can get crumbled by the introduction of something like a Kyurem. I still firmly believe that Giratina, because it has the strongest V-Star attack in the game, being able to one-shot anything, that it does have still some merit to it. Dragapult with Lost Box, not too big of a believer. Like all these Lost Box with stage 2 stuff in there, I'm not a big of a believer. Dragapult with Xatu though, I'll put that in tier B. Yeah, together with Dragapult and the Charizard shenanigans. Maybe just put Dragapult with Xatu. Dragapult with Charizard in the tier A. Maybe that is a little bit better. Maybe something like this, for example. Then the last of the bunch is like Raging Bolt. Actually, there's 2 Raging Bolts in here. That's kind of hilarious. Let's just leave Raging Bolt as it is on the... they're both of them. They are both here. I'll put Raging Bolt Ogerpon here, and then Raging Bolt, yeah, it's just the same archetype. Pure Raging Bolt, let's just put it over here so we don't take a look at it. This is probably where I'd be putting my conclusion for the world's meta. Gardevoir will be popular. In my opinion, Charizard with Dusknoir or even Pidgeot and Dusknoir, something like that would be popular. Lugia, Raging Bolt, Dragapult, something like that. Maybe even a surprise Regidrago V-Star. Tier B, we have Miraidon, Gholdengo, Chien-Pao, Control, Lost Box, other versions of Dragapult, Roaring Moon, Giratina V-Star, United Wings in my opinion. As mentioned, United Wings can hit weakness against Gardevoir, it can hit weakness against Charizard. So definitely some crazy stuff indeed. Yeah, we have so much archetypes in the meta right now, it's kind of crazy. Snorlax probably will not convert that well. Still some ancient box believers that could surprise people. Dialga, Goudra, Future Box. Okidogi probably will not be doing that well. Arceus Box probably also will not do that well. Great Tusk, Greninja, Banette. And the don't play this category. I think the don't play this category is great, except for like a Raging Bolt. This is like, I don't know why there's 2 Raging Bolts here, but it doesn't matter. We have these decks. So let me know in the comments how you feel about my world's prediction tier list in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Only requires 1 tiny second every time, helps out the channel tremendously. I want to know your opinion down below. What would you put higher or lower upon the tier list? I'm very curious to hear your opinion. Did I forget a rogue deck? I'm also open to the idea that there are still some decks that are not explored quite yet that could perform well and come out of the blue. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Go check out our sponsors that make the videos possible. Links down below. Definitely use them if you're looking for some Dragon Shield product, a custom playmat, PokemonStore.com, TCG Live code cards, or if you're looking for to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe, use the referral name TCG over at cardmarket.com. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for more Pokemon TCG action. Thank you all for watching, and if you are going to Worlds, yeah, feel free to come and say hi. Let's take some selfies here and there. It's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be one of the most wonderful places to celebrate the end of the season. The 2024 season has come down to an end here, and it was such a beautiful journey. And I want to thank everyone that was part of this journey and is going to be flying all the way to Honolulu or gonna be watching at home throughout the live stream. Have a good one, folks. See you guys later. Peace.